We're going to show you how to propagate a juniper using cuttings from another tree. The first step here is preparing the soil. This soil here is half perlite, half coconut coir. We added more coconut shavings to retain more moisture. There's no hard and fast rule as to the percentages of what you want to use in your potting medium. Just make sure it doesn't, water just doesn't sit there. I tamp it down just a bit so the cuttings aren't floating around. This is the donor tree we're going to take cuttings from. It is a shimpaku juniper. I've taken several cuttings of these for the last, I would say, 3 years. It's still a very healthy tree. I don't style it into a bonsai style right now. It's just growing as a donor tree. You'll want plenty of time for the rooting to take place before the winter, so think about doing this in the spring or summer months. The cutting you want to pick has some woody growth on it. It's not the tender green part, so notice here, this is where you want to clip it and have a few inches that you can stick it into the soil. This is an example of the new growth. You do want this as part of your cutting. It does help with growing it a little better, but you don't want to put that part in the ground, although there has been some success in doing that. We found ourselves a nice surprise here. This is a bagworm. It's very common here in Oklahoma. They will suck the life out of your tree, so make sure if you see these, just to pluck them off. I usually take about 20 to 30 cuttings once a year. There's no reason why you can't do it multiple times a year as long as the tree is healthy, but I just don't have time to do that. Okay, next step is to keep these in water because it'll take you, I don't know, 5 to 10, 20 minutes to prune these, dip them in rooting hormone, and then put them in the soil. So you want to make sure they don't dry out. That's why I just put them into some water. Okay, here's the important part. So the first step is to clip probably the bottom third to bottom half of the branches from your cutting to where you have a little bit of exposed woody growth. Then you get an X-Acto knife or a sharp knife or blade and cut maybe an inch, maybe a little less at the very bottom of each cutting. The section at the bottom where you are shaving off the bark of the branch is where the roots are going to grow from. So make sure your blade's clean, make sure they are clean cuts, make sure you shave it off completely so that you don't have any issues with root growth. Also dip the cutting in rooting hormone before placing it into the potting medium. You can use anywhere between 1% and 5% IBA. Again, I want to point out that you don't want to take the cutting from this fresh new green growth, although you do want some of that with your cutting. It just means that that cutting is very vigorous in its growth, and so you'll have a higher chance that that'll take root. Unfortunately, my phone locked up, so I couldn't show you the complete progression, but there's all the cuttings in the pot. After 4 to 8 weeks, make sure you periodically check to see if there's roots. So if you pull one out, there's no roots and it's still green, stick it back in. But after 8 weeks or so, you should be good to go to take them out. So this is another one I did that is ready, and I'm just carefully pulling the cuttings out so that I don't disturb the very tender roots that they have, as you can see. Next step is to put these in training pots. I'm not too worried about the root distribution for bonsai nabari, so I'm just putting these into these small containers for them to grow a little more next year. So I'm going to keep these in these training pots for 1 to 2 years, depending on what I decide to do with them. So keep them watered and they'll be happy. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Thank you.